People ask me, why I might not curse or do certain things in the music, but it's like I try not to do those things because I feel like it's a God-given talent.
Just real people, real convo. I'm Peter Bailey, and after speaking with DJ Khaled, I headed to Circle House Studios, where Rick Ross kicked off the first ever MMG weekend. Inside, a host of tastemakers gathered to savor the sounds of rap's most influential ensemble. I headed over to the Cabana, where I shared a nightcap with MMG's most unassuming and civic-minded member, Stalley. He discussed crafting prose for the soul, repping the Midwest, and being the honest cowboy on the hip-hop frontier. Stalley, how you doing, man? Thanks for sharing this conversation with me, man.
Anytime.
Stalley, when I think about your dynamic and the backstory of Honest Cowboy, when I think about a cowboy, I've always thought about frontiersmen that were out basically venturing out where the masses wouldn't, in a very raw, honest, kind of renegade, but they always discovered something we were lacking. And I'm just going to put it out there. I feel that you're on the frontier trying to bring us something in the content that matters to us. Am I kind of...
Nah, you hitting
I'm on the
nail
right
on the
path.
head, yeah.
So that mission you're on, kind of, let me understand fully exactly what it is. Because when I listen to your music, I'm just hearing raw, unfiltered truth, man.
Right. And that's what it is, me just trying to not only give you the truth, but give you the realities of, of not only what's going on in the music world, but in real life. You know what I mean? I think that we are missing that point at sometimes. We fail to kind of, we get lost in the glamour, in the glitz of things, but there's real people doing real things, working real jobs, putting in real work to survive in this life, and that's what I try to give, and that's everybody from my family has always done that from start, and I just want to basically give that representation through the music and from myself, and also at the same time, as I'm out on this frontier, I'm trying to gather up this information for myself to be able to relay that, and that goes back into the ancestry and learning about my father who wasn't too much into my life, you know what I mean, and I met my brother and my sister
at a show, right?
Yeah, my little brother and my little sister at a show who I didn't,
How was that? I mean, when they came up to you after the show? Or?
No, actually, it was weird. I mean, it wasn't weird. It was cool because, the actual promoter of the show, he's selling tickets throughout, the months or whatever leading up to the show, and they come to him and they're like, "Yo, this is my brother." And he like, man,
whatever.
Yeah,
you just trying to get in the show.
whatever. So he's like, no, they, trust me, he's my brother. So then, he gets some tickets, gets some VIP, and then when I come in right before the show, I'm in the back room, and he's like, yo, there's some, there's a girl and a guy here saying that they're your brother and sister. They want to meet you, whatever. And I'm like, man, that probably is my brother and sister, because we are in San Antonio, Texas, where my father, last lived, and he passed away there. And they come, he brings them back, and I meet him, and I look, and I'm like, man, that's them. We just have this conversation.
You kind of knew it, you felt that.
Yeah, I felt
already.
it, and I could see in my brother, we all kind of look like my father in some way. So I just see my brother's face, and I'm like, yeah, man, this is flesh and blood right here, you know what I mean? And we just got to talking, and he brought out some pictures, and he was showing me all these things from the album books that his mom and that my father kept, pictures of me when I was a child, and I was just like, man, it was just a moment. And we still stay in contact and talk, and it's been good, you know what I mean, just to reunite with them, and or just to unite with them, for the first time, and keep on building this relationship. It's so many years that's passed, but we speak, and it's like we've grown up together.
You don't seem bitter at your father though.
Not at all. I try to understand, or even I have a daughter, you know what I mean, and I talk to her mother sometimes, and I'm like, man, I'm not even mad at my dad. I kind of understand as a man how hard it could be, you know what I mean, to raise a family, or to be young and to be trying to do something positive.
Especially for a brother.
Yeah, especially for a black man trying to do something positive, but you always seem to get off track, and I can see why you know, you sometimes for a man it might feel better to go distance yourself from the family than hurting them. At least you feel that way.
I didn't think of that. Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, you kind of like still hurting.
You still hurting them.
You know, and you're hurting yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's that thin line that you balance? Like, stay here and thug it out, or try to remove myself, do what I gotta do, and bring it back.
Yeah.
Or will it be too late to bring it back? You know, because mom might not want you back after that. It's just a lot of things to it, but it's no bitterness. It's just wanting to really understand kind of like why he was the way he was, or how he felt the way he felt, and me try not to make those same mistakes, being that, you know, I'm in an industry where, you know, I'm fending for myself and trying to provide for my family too.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, Stalley, when I listen to you, man, I just hear so much truth. It seems like you're giving power to the music just from a raw place beyond the accessories that come with that. But as we talk, you are in a glamour-filled culture, you know. And I've always have, I guess, a bone to pick. Not a bone to pick, but I think about the art form in hip hop and the fact that most of the masses and the audience that really lives it don't have what you guys have.
Right.
How do you balance making music and being a man, just you know, enjoying your success, the Rolex or whatever, but still saying, yo, I'm giving voice to you still though? And
that's the thing, and it's funny that you said that, because I always say that it's like that balance, like of the deserving or feeling like you deserve the finer things, but also not wanting to glorify the finer things. Because we all work, like my whole movement is called the blue collar gang. And it's, you know, when people be like, well, you want to stay blue collar? No, it's like blue collar gang to me, it you know, represents the hard workers, the kids that goes to school, the 9-to-5ers, the people who pump gas, the people who change oil, like those people with limited resources, but make the best out of what they have to provide for themselves and for their family.
And they keep the country going.
And they keep the country, yeah, exactly. And that's what I try to do with the music. There's so many artists like myself who keep this music thing going with the realness, or with however you want to quote it, or, you know, the realness or the honesty or whatever, but because we get lost in the glamour and the glitz of it. And I'm not saying nothing is wrong with that, but it's like what you said too, it's like people want to live vicariously through something. You know what I mean? Like I you know, it's funny because I'm laughing because it's funny because I was in Paris, right? And a girl came up to me and she was like, you know, if somebody doesn't like your music, they don't like themselves. And I looked at her, I said, what you mean by that? And she was like, because she was like, your music just represents us, the everyday individual. So for somebody who doesn't like your music, they must not like themselves, because if they can't, it's like, put it like this, it's kind of like if you work in a job, say at Best Buy or wherever, you work in a regular job to people, and you know, you come home and you pop on some music, or you get in the car and pop on some music, and you hear someone talking about that life, it's kind of like, ugh, I just left it, or I don't want to face, this is my reality. But when you get in the car and you hear like money, drugs, hoes, and all, they see the cars and they see the diamonds, all that, and they like, ooh, that's what I'm gonna get, or that's what I want to. They kind of like want to live that party, but this isn't your life. Exactly. Like this is the essentials that is going to get you to where you want to get to. Like it doesn't jump from Best Buy to a Maybach. You know what I mean, or whatever. So it takes hard work, and you know, it takes a lot of dedication. And I just try to, I guess, bring that into the music as well, along with just giving you my natural life. Like
I could tell you kind of battle with it a little bit, because in the song 10 Jesus Pieces, you're self-conscious. You want these chains, but hold on, should I really be
right? And I'm like that in the day to day. Like I have a nice watch, or you know, I might have a chain, or you know, I might have clothes. But sometimes I feel crazy when I buy it, because I just be like, man, there's something other things I could do. But sometimes you just gotta enjoy what you work for, and you know what I mean, and not be afraid or ashamed of, you know, wanting to find the things. But it's not about making those possessions your God, you know, like worshiping them. You know what I mean? It's more about just enjoying it, knowing what it is and what it represents, and that's that. You know what I mean? You keep it.
It's interesting you bring up God because you're one person I've always wanted. I was always curious. I can tell you're a spiritual person.
Mm-hmm.
Your private conversation with God, what are some of the things you challenge him with? Because I challenge God.
I do too, man. I just asked him one thing I always ask him is just to come into my life, stay there, and keep that presence and just radiate through me. You know what I mean? I give it to him. You know what I mean? And just be like, you work with it. This is your talent. This is what you gave me. I want you to use it the way you want to use it and want me to use it for the world, you know? Because I tell people like that all the time because, you know, people ask me, you know, why I might not curse or do certain things in the music, but it's like I try not to do those things because, like, I feel like it's a God-given talent. You know what I mean? It's a voice. And he can strip it anytime.
Yeah, he can.
So I want to make sure that I'm doing it in the right way that he's like, man, you representing not only yourself but me.
I'm curious. Is some of this conscious, wholesome, just feel rubbing off on Maybach, rubbing off on Ross? I got a good relationship with Ross. Is it rubbing off a little bit?
Hopefully.
I'm curious.
I'm not trying to be the pastor.
Of course not.
No, but you know, it's just like I feel like, you know, some of it does rub off and helps. You know what I mean? But they help me a lot too. You know what I mean? Ross helps me more than a little, you know what I mean? Like giving me this opportunity and for Ross to share the stories and all the experience that he had over the years of being in this game. Like it's just a wonderful guy to be right next to, you know, as my career blossoms.
Yeah, Stalley, you know, I was just kind of messing with you a little bit. I guess about being the, I won't say cliche light in the Maybach fortress.
Right.
But you know, on a real level though, Ross, the Maybach ensemble, you guys are arguably the most influential brand in pop culture right now. That's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
You know what I mean? When you go into the booth from a spiritual standpoint and whatnot, I was one of the artists, you guys know just how much influence you have.
I don't know if I know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if any of us know. You know what I mean? That's a great question. But some people more than others, I wish they did know because their voice is so powerful and could do so much for the youth. Exactly. You know what I mean? And just for people in general. Yeah. You know, so I kind of keep it in the back of my mind. Again, like when I come in the writing and getting in the booth and start spitting, it's just like whatever comes out, you know what I mean, and it's natural. It's not really like I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna write this record or I'm trying to change the world. It's not. This is just really me. You know what I mean? This is just me speaking from my heart.
I can feel it.
You know, like it's not a game or any, you know, thing that I'm like I'm gonna be the spiritual one or I'm gonna be this way.
Because it's
just,
not forced.
Yeah, it's just what I've been doing. And if anybody checks the catalog from back, the music stays consistent, the topics stay consistent. You know, it only grows and gets better. But you know, the growth is there, and it shows you more and more. It gets you deeper and deeper into my life as you listen. And I think that's what, you know, is important to me, is just let it come out naturally, let it come out honest, and whatever happens, you know, happens.
You know, Stalley, let's be honest. I'm just be real, because I know I face that in my reality. When you have a vision, you have an idea, people just not getting it. On an honest level, you've been doing this for a minute. Are there just real human times when you're like, man, why am I not there? Like, are people getting me?
Of course. You know what I mean? That's natural. You know, and I think that even somebody as big as, you know, Ross or Kanye might be like, man, why ain't I?
We know Kanye gets that.
We see but you know, like these people are like, why ain't I where Jay is on? So yeah, of course, you know, but it takes time. You know, I think it takes time for people. You know, I say it in the music, it takes time to get used to. And sometimes it's something as little as people getting used to your voice. You know what I mean? They're used to hearing these certain artists and they know their voice and they're familiar with their sound. So when you come in with a new sound, new voice.
Is that part of the problem with the culture that becomes so homogenous and mundane though? Where's the originality though?
Exactly, because and that kind of can get frustrating because at the same time, like when I fell in love with music, it was because everybody was different.
Yeah,
like
I
even at,
remember.
at a time you had Tribe, Tupac, Biggie, Jay-Z.
If you wanted a little bit of ratchet, you wanted a little bit of conscience.
The Outkast, Scarface, Ice Cube, E40. Everything was, but they all had their own sounds. Nobody was trying to make the same record. Exactly. And I think now everybody is following a certain sound, a certain trend, and it's like, and then when you do something different, you're looked at as the oddball. But back in the day, when you did something different, you was looked at as being great.
But that's where the Cowboy comes.
Exactly.
Because, when you venture out, they're going to thank you later.
Right, exactly.
For leading them to that well.
Exactly.
And finally, Stalley, we talked about earlier, the Midwest. Yeah. And I spent some time after college, I couldn't get a job, and I was driving a forklift out in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Yeah. And man, I remember.
So you a real blue collar guy.
Yeah, I am. I mean, that was, I left there and I went to New York and stuff worked out for me because I was driving that forklift. And what I remember about the Midwest, bro, there weren't any opportunities.
Exactly.
It was guys running around with shotguns. It was G4, it was G's, it was Latin Kings. Yeah. And I worked with these guys in a factory out there, and it was like, there's nothing there. How you're from Ohio, a little town. Mm-hmm. Do you get bitter sometimes, or like, because as an artist coming from there, just how much pressure, how much more weight is it to be a voice of that pocket? So,
I think it's, I think that goes back to what we was just talking about. It's harder for people to get used to that because you ain't from that bigger market. You know what I mean? So it's like when the people hear like, oh, I'm Stalley from Aston, Ohio. They like, where is that? And why are you rapping? Because it's like, you're not from Chicago, you're not from New York, you're not from LA, you're not from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So what do you have to say to me? Like that's not.
And you guys have a lot to say.
And we have a lot to say. And we have we've been through the most, and that's why I try to I said this before, but we like some of the flyest dudes on the planet. And the reason why I say that is because with the little bit of resources that we do,
out of nothing.
We make it work. Like we make it work. We'll buy a $3,000 Chevy, put like 10,000 into it. Yeah, we'll put some money into it, and it's looking like a new Benz. But it's hard because it's not a lot of opportunity, and that's one of the reasons why I go so hard and I work so hard, because I want to bring those opportunities back to where I'm from. I want to bring those. There's a lot of talent where I'm from, and I'm not talking about just music, but I'm talking about all arts. All facets of the this industry and other industries, and I want to be able to shine that light. It's just it's just difficult because you want to, like, most people think it's farms and cows.
I told you, like,
soybeans.
Yeah,
exactly. But and it's not a lot of opportunity. And the opportunity that we had, they stripped from us. Yeah. Like we had the car industry, they took it from us. GM and all that was in Ohio and Detroit. Now you're looking at Cleveland and Detroit, some of the poorest major cities in America. Man. You know what I mean? Which were at one time the most booming, industry.
And that's the heart of America.
And it's the heart of America. It's just hard, man, and it's sad, that we have to go so hard to prove a point, but that's where we get our thick skin. That's where we get our drive and determination.
That's what keeps us going.
That's what keeps us going, and that's why we so prideful. You can't tell someone from the Midwest or Ohio really that we ain't the best at something. The Buckeyes is the best, but we always supporting our teams no matter what. The Browns, Cavs, Indians, no matter how hard of a season we might be having, we there, we support, and then it's that, and that's pride because we want the world to see that we stand up for something and we all together and we trying to make it work for the best of us.
Stalley, my man. Appreciate that real conversation, man. Indeed. people.